In the depths of the savage lands, I have carved out my territory in blood and bone. Abandoned to the mercy of the jungle as a cub, I fought to survive, fending off vicious Persian scavengers. Yet this struggle has forged an alpha predator, relentless and unflinching, tearing through anything that gets in my way. Some say I'm reckless, savage and uncontrollable, driven by my bloodlust and base instincts. When I fight, I enter a bloody frenzy. Everything around me becomes a threat, the ground turning slick with blood as I blindly butcher everything in my path.
Today we will be looking at Rhinar Reckless Rampage. If you don't know the fundamentals and general game mechanics, I strongly suggest watching the Learn to Play guides by LSS. Link will be in the description. Rhinar was first introduced in the first Flesh and Blood set, Welcome to Wraith, early 2019. Let's have a look at his hero ability. Whenever you discard a card with 6 or more attack power during your action phase, Intimidate. Show your opponent who's the alpha by combining cards with 6 or more attack power with Rhinar's reckless attacks and intimidating bellows. Intimidate is a keyword that represents an attack so terrifying that the defender can't think straight in order to defend themselves. Whenever Intimidate occurs, a random card from the defender's hand is banished face down until the end of turn. This can happen multiple times in a turn and serves to limit what cards the defender can use to defend with. Rhinar has many weapons to choose from, but today we will cover 2. Firstly, Rhinar's signature weapon is the Romping Club. This two-handed club says, once per turn action, for 2 resources, attack. Once per turn effect, when you discard a card with 6 or more attack power, Romping Club gains +1 attack power until the end of turn. Next we have the Mandible Claw. Since this one is a one-handed weapon, we can have 2 equipped. It says, once per turn action, for 2 resources, attack. If you have discarded a card with 6 or more attack power this turn, Mandible Claw gains Go again. Both weapons synergize well with the discard Intimidate mechanic. I will demonstrate some examples using both Romping Club and Mandible Claws in the gameplay. Let's have a look at some budget equipment that can be used with this hero. Firstly, let's try our luck with Bark Bone Strapping. This one says, instant, destroy Bark Bone Strapping. Roll a 6-sided die, gain resources equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. For example, roll a 3, this will give you 1 resource. Roll a 6, this will give you 3. Additionally, this can block once, and being battle worn, this will not be destroyed after blocking with it, meaning you can still use the action ability if not used yet. Beaten Trackers from the Dynasty set says, whenever you discard a random card with 6 or more attack power, you may destroy Beaten Trackers. If you do, gain 1 action point. This will enable you to gain an action point and keep going if you discarded a 6 or more attack power this turn. Beaten Trackers also have Battle Worn. Rhinar mainly focus on 6+ reckless attacks, whilst intimidating your opponent's hand, forcing them to block with the remaining cards, sometimes making it incredibly awkward if the cards they wish to use was intimidated away. But be mindful, if you run too many non-attack actions and or 5 attack power or less, this could cripple your chance to intimidate or gain bonus effects from discarding a 6+ attack action card. Fear. A weapon more powerful than tooth, claw, or club. Rhinar showcases his status as an apex predator with his ability to intimidate the enemy, immobilizing their defenses with his terrifying bellows. Let's look at a few cards that includes the Intimidate mechanic on the card itself. Pack Hunt is a 2-cost simple Intimidate card that blocks for 3. Note only the red pitch here is 6 attack power. Smash Instinct is the same but costs 3, with only the blue version not having attack power 6 or more. Barraging Beatdown is an interesting non-attack action with Intimidate. It also says, your next brute attack this turn gains. If this attack is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it gains +4 attack power in red, 3 in yellow, and 2 in blue. This one can be interesting if you can force your opponent into multiple Intimidates, leaving them with not enough cards to satisfy the criteria. Or if they do, they are faced with a choice of either not losing 2 cards to block and being attacked for more, or block the attack with 2 cards to avoid the extra damage for barraging beatdown. Some cards will not have the Intimidate text on them, but will synergize with your hero ability to enable the Intimidate mechanic. Savage Swing says, as an additional cost to play Savage Swing, discard a random card from your hand. This is the basic mechanic without any extra fluff, as they say. This is great if your hand only consists of 6 attack power, then you know the discard effect won't miss. Wrecker Romp is the same as Savage Swing, but costs 1 more and its attack is 1 more for each color pitch. Savage Feast again is similar but has an added effect on discard. If the discarded card has 6 or more attack power, draw a card. Just remember, on its own, this does not have go again. Pulping from the Monarch set is an interesting one. Oddly enough, this one doesn't have a block value, but for 2 resources, it packs a punch. Draw a card, then discard a random card. If a card with 6 or more attack power is discarded this way, Pulping gains Dominate. The Dominate effect means your opponent can only defend the attack with a single card from hand. This includes playing defense reactions from their hand. Note that your opponent can still block with available equipment as well as play defense reactions from arsenal. But wait, it doesn't even end here. It also says, while Pulping is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it has go again. This means if Pulping has gained Dominate, the opponent will have a difficult time satisfying this criteria. Being able to go again with Rhinar can sometimes be game-changing. Lastly, in this category we have the defense reaction Reckless Swing. As an additional cost to play Reckless Swing, discard a random card. If the discarded card has 6 or more attack power, deal 2 damage to the attacking hero. This can be the final blow if your opponent is on 2 or less life during their turn. Now, since we have to discard random cards from hand to turn on effects from cards played, let's have a look at some cards that give you an extra benefit by being discarded. Beast Within. If Beast Within is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the combat chain, banish the top card of your deck and lose 1 life. If it has 6 or more attack power, put it into your hand. Otherwise, repeat this process. Losing a life is a small cost for drawing a 6+ attack power card, especially if you still have an action point available. Massacre, one of my personal favorite Brood cards from the Crucible War set, can be utilized by being played after a successful discard or being discarded. It says, if you have discarded a card with 6 or more attack power this turn, Massacre gains +2 attack power and Intimidate. If Massacre is discarded to pay the cost of a Brute attack action card, the attack gains Intimidate. Skullcrack from the Dynasty set says, when Skullcrack is discarded at random, gain 1 resource. This can be fantastic if you have a follow-up attack that needs extra resources. Recklessly unpredictable, when a Brute succumbs to instinct, anything can happen. To be an Alpha Brute, you'll have to throw caution to the wind. Kinda like rolling a dice. Firstly, let's have a look at a non-attack action card from Everfest called High Roller. Intimidate. If you have rolled a 4, 5, or 6 in red on a dice this turn, instead Intimidate twice. Go again. This can be great if you successfully rolled a dice prior to playing this card. Note that the other color pitch will require you to roll a 5 or 6 in yellow and 6 in blue. Bonehead Barrier is an instant that says, roll a 6-sided die. Prevent the next X damage that would be dealt to your hero this turn, where X is the number rolled. This can come in clutch, especially if you can manage to roll a 6. Moving to other notable Brood cards, we have Blood Rush Bellow. As an additional cost to play a Blood Rush Bellow, discard a random card. Your Brute attacks gain +2 attack power this turn. If the discarded card has 6 or more attack power, draw 2 cards, and Blood Rush Bellow gains go again. This card can turn the tides around in your favor quite drastically. I will provide an example of how to utilize this card in the gameplay. Savage Beatdown. Play Savage Beatdown only if you discarded a card with 6 or more attack power this turn. As an additional cost to play Savage Beatdown, discard a random card. If the discarded card is a 6 or more attack power, Savage Beatdown has +6 attack power. This is another game-changing card, but a little tricky to pull off. You will need to discard 2 6+ attack power cards on the turn you play Savage Beatdown, 1 prior and 1 to pay the additional cost to play the card. Additionally, it has a cost itself of 3. All heroes have specific specialization cards that can only be played in their respective hero deck. For Rhinar, these are Sand Sketched Plan and Alpha Rampage. Sand Sketched Plan says, search your deck for a card, put it into your hand, discard a random card, then shuffle your deck. If the discarded card is a 6 or more attack power, gain 2 action points. This one is great as you can search either an explosive card you want to play this turn or search a card that has upsides if discarded. Of course, it's not guaranteed which card will be discarded in the process, but that's what Rhinar is all about, right? Next, we have Alpha Rampage. As an additional cost to play Alpha Rampage, discard a random card. When you attack with Alpha Rampage, Intimidate. This one not only comes in for 9, but could potentially strip 2 cards from your opponent's hand with Intimidate. If you are considering playing Rhinar, you will have access to higher quality equipment. There are a few options here, so I will only cover a few. Scabskin Leathers, the legendary brute leg equipment, says, once per turn action, at no cost, roll a 6-sided die. Gain action points equal to half the number rolled, rounded down. This is great if you want to try to gain extra action points, but beware, if you roll a 1, this will consume your action and your turn will end. It also has a robust unconditional block value of 2, meaning you can block 1 attack for 2, and on a later turn or another chain, block again for an additional 1, for a total of 3 block damage. Being battle-worn equipment, Scabskin Leathers will not be destroyed once all block value has been used. The next 3 equipment I would still consider budget-friendly. Lucky on your dice rolls? Skull Crushers might be for you. Whenever you roll a 5 or a 6 on a die, your brute attacks gain +1 attack power this turn. But whenever you roll a 1 on a die, destroy Skull Crushers. This one has Battle Worn as well. Skullhorn can trigger an additional Intimidate if the card discarded is a 6+ attack power. Secondly, this equipment has built-in Arcane Barrier 2. This will be extremely useful against heroes that deals larger bursts of arcane damage, such as wizards. Do note, if you use the action on this card, the equipment will be destroyed. Lastly, we have Gambler's Gloves, a very interesting generic equipment. It says, whenever a hero rolls a 6-sided die, you may destroy Gambler's Gloves. If you do, that hero re-rolls the die. Roll the 1 and want a shot of re-rolling a dice? This equipment is for you. The interesting part of this one, since it's a generic, your opponent can also choose to use this equipment and force you to re-roll one of your good rolls. Just a quick disclaimer, many heroes benefit from using other generic legendary equipment, and Rhinar is no exception, but we'll not be including these today. Alright, let's look at a few example hands. For our first example, let's intimidate our opponent. Our cards are High Roller Blue, Wrecker Romp Red, Barraging Beatdown Red, and Beast Within. Firstly, let's play our Barraging Beatdown Red. This non-attack action card has built-in Intimidate. You can now choose one of your opponent's card at random. Let's choose the second one. That card is now banished until the start of their turn. Now our next brute attack gains. If this attack is defended by less than 2 non-equipment cards, it gains +4 attack power. Next, let's play our red Wrecker Romp, pitching the blue High Roller. Wrecker Romp does have an extra cost to play. You must discard a random card from hand. We only have 1 card left here, so we will discard Beast Within. A few things will happen here. Firstly, we will look at the discard effect. Beast Within is a 6+ attack power card, meaning Rhinar's hero ability will trigger Intimidate. Let's pick the middle card this time. Second, Beast wouldn't also have a trigger effect when randomly discarded. We banish the top card of our deck and lose 1 life. If it's a 6+ attack power card, put it into your hand. Otherwise, repeat this process. Let's say the banished card is Massacre. Since it's a 6 attack action card, it will come to our hand. Wrecker Romp is now coming in for a total of 8 damage, if they decide to block with the 2 remaining cards from hand. If they opt not to block with both cards, the barraging beatdown effect that Wrecker Romp gained will boost its total to 12 damage. Let's end our turn here and place Massacre in Arsenal. Next example, let's continue from our last play. Our cards are Wrecker Romp blue, Savage Feast red, Sand Sketch Plan, and Smash Instinct yellow. Firstly, looking at our hand, we only have 6+ attack power cards, plus Sand Sketch Plan, meaning we know that this one will hit by the discard effect. Let's then play Sand Sketch Plan. This says search your deck for a card and place it into your hand. Let's get Skullcrack, as this one has an upside of gaining a resource on this card. Then we discard a card from hand at random. Let's say the Yellow Smashing Instinct got discarded here. This will firstly trigger Intimidate from Rhinar's ability. Let's pick their first card, and we also now gain 2 action points. Sweet! With our first action point, let's play Savage Feast, pitching the Wrecker Romp. The additional cost to play this one is a random discard from hand. We then discard our only card remaining, which is Skullcrack. A few things will happen here. Firstly, this triggers Rhinar's hero ability yet again, Intimidate. Let's pick the middle card. Second, Skullcrack will award us a resource since it was discarded at random. And third, Savage Feast will draw us a card since the discarded card was a 6+ attack power. Let's say we draw a yellow Savage Feast. Now we have 2 pathways opened. We can either play Massacre with our last action point and arsenal the yellow Savage Feast, or gamble to get an additional action point. Let's gamble. If we miss on our Scabskin Leather's roll, we have Gambler's Glove to fall back on to reroll. Let's say we rolled a 4. Half rounded down gives us 2 action points. Perfect. With one of our 2 action points, let's swing with our Romping Club, paying with 2 of our floating resources. Since we have discarded a card that was 6 or more attack power this turn, Romping Club gains +1 attack power, coming in for 5. Opponent decides to block 3 of the damage with one of their remaining cards from hand. With our last action point, let's play Massacre from Arsenal, pitching the yellow Savage Feast. Since we have discarded a 6+ attack power card this turn, Massacre gains +2 attack power and Intimidate. This will intimidate the last card out of our opponent's hand. Now Massacre will come in for a total of 8 damage, with our opponent unable to block with any cards since, well, they have none left. Triple Intimidate turns are always quite fun. For our last 2 examples, we will switch to the Mandible Claws as our weapon and Skull Crushers for our arm equipment. Let's have 1 big attack and set up for our next turn. Our cards are Barraging Beatdown blue, Wrecker Romp blue, Savage Beatdown, and Alpha Rampage. Now looking at our hand, Savage Beatdown is a great card but requires a bit of setup. We could pitch a card to attack with 1 Mandible, then Arsenal pass, but hey, we are playing Rhinar. Let's be reckless and try a big attack and try to set up after. Let's play Alpha Rampage, pitching the blue Barraging Beatdown. As an extra cost to play Alpha Rampage, we must discard a card. Now we have a 50-50 chance of discarding either Wrecker Romp or Savage Beatdown. Let's say luck was on our side and we discarded Wrecker Romp, keeping Savage Beatdown. Now we get to double intimidate our opponent, once from our successful discard and one from the Alpha Rampage itself, as it says when you attack with Alpha Rampage, intimidate. Let's take the 2 middle cards. Then we end our turn and play Savage Beatdown in Arsenal. For our last example, let's show off the power of Bloodrush Bellow and Savage Beatdown. Our cards are Reckless Swing, Bloodrush Bellow, Wrecker Romp yellow, and Pulping red. Let's start with Bloodrush Bellow, pitching our only non-6+ attack power card. This way we can guarantee that our discard is successful. As an additional cost, we must discard a random card. Let's say we discard Wrecker Romp yellow. This will then trigger Intimidate from Rhinar's hero ability. And now let's look at Blood Rush Bellow. It says, your brute attacks gains +2 attack power this turn. If the discarded card has 6 or more attack power, draw 2 cards, and Blood Rush Bellow gains Go Again. Let's say the 2 cards we draw are Smashing Instinct yellow and Wrecker Romp blue. We currently have 2 floating resources and 1 action point. Let's first attack with one of our Mandible Claws, using the 2 floating resources. Since we discarded a 6+ attack power card this turn, Mandible Claws will gain Go Again. This will come in for a total of 5 attack power from Blood Rush Bellow, since it targets all brute attacks this turn. Next, let's attack with the second Mandible Claw, pitching the yellow Smashing Instinct. This will again come in for 5 Go Again. Since we have already discarded a 6+ attack power card this turn, we can now play our powerful attack action, Savage Beatdown from Arsenal, pitching the blue Wrecker Romp. As an additional cost, you will need to discard a card. This leaves us with Pulping. Pulping is a 6+ attack power, so it will trigger Intimidate. Savage Beatdown will now come in for a grand total of 14 attack power, 2 from Blood Rush Bellow, and +6 from the Savage Beatdown discard effect. Pretty explosive. To conclude, Rhinar is recklessly unpredictable. When a brute succumbs to instinct, anything can happen. The rule of the Savage Lands is simple: the strong survive. This was Jackie for the Fab Workshop. See you next time, and thanks for watching.